Welcome to this edition of Head to Head. I'm your host, Cam McKinney, and this is episode number 365 of the podcast. And on this episode, I'm talking about the Boston Celtics and Cleveland Cavaliers both missing out on playing in the Eastern Conference Finals. Coming into every NBA season, we as fans all come to a consensus as to who we believe to be the legitimate contenders throughout the league. And this year, two of those teams were none other than the Boston Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers. And one of, if not the biggest surprise of the season, is neither team making it to the Eastern Conference Finals. More people are surprised about the Boston Celtics. They won the title last year and won 61 games during the regular season. And it does, being a fan of the team, feel like some of their failures are self-inflicted. In the second round loss to the New York Knicks, the Celtics blew two 20-point leads and a 14-point lead. And to put it mildly, it doesn't feel like the team properly knows how to play with a lead. My problem isn't that they shoot too many 3-point shots. It's that when they have a big lead, that's seemingly all they do. It's like, guys, take it to the basket. You have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. The Celtics became a basketball team that lived and died by the 3-point shot, and what's maddening about that is they are a team that can do more than that. They can take it to the basket. They can play really good defense, but their entire identity as a basketball team became the 3-point shot. All of the talking heads wanted to talk about their 3-point shooting because that's all the Celtics were giving them. They wanted to be a one-dimensional basketball team. And I just want them to aspire to be more than that in the coming years. I don't want the Celtics to be a team that's only known for shooting 3-point shots. Now, the amount of shots, I don't care as long as they're going in on a semi-consistent basis. I also want to get this out of the way. I do not believe the Boston Celtics won a championship last year because of their elite 3-point shooting. I think they won the championship because of their elite defense, specifically on the perimeter. Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and Drew Holiday, and Jason Tatum were all playing elite defense last postseason. And in my opinion, their defense faltered off this postseason, and that's the biggest reason they're not in the conference finals. We can talk about the 3-point shooting all we want. I thought last year's Celtics team was a special team defensively. This year's team proved not to be. With the Cleveland Cavaliers, everyone was selling us on the idea that this was a different team from last year. They have a new coach in Kenny Atkinson, and it was no longer going to feel like a Donovan Mitchell one-man show, that they were more of a complete team. Their final two losses to the Pacers were both by double digits. Yes, they missed key pieces in games like Darius Garland and Evan Mobley, but struggled even with those players. The Cavaliers won 64 games during the regular season, and because of this second round loss in the playoffs to the Pacers, no one, and I mean absolutely no one, will take them seriously as a title contending team next season until they show us they can make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. The Celtics and Cavs each lost to two teams who were not close to them record-wise. The Celtics were 10 games better than the Knicks, and the Cavaliers were 14 games better than the Indiana Pacers. So the big question is, where do these teams go from here? I do not know. I do know that heading into next season, both will most likely not be taken seriously. The Celtics won't be, due to the fact that their biggest star, Jason Tatum, is injured and will most likely miss most, if not all, of next season. As for the Cavs, they can win all the regular season games in the world, but it won't matter until you show up big come playoff time. And when it comes to their star, Donovan Mitchell, it's the thing holding him back from being on the list of the elite of the elite. Like, I I view him as a star player, but he is not a superstar player. He needs to get a team to a conference finals appearance. It didn't happen in Utah. They were a consistently good regular season team that fell short, and the exact same thing is happening with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And make no mistake, it's not Donovan Mitchell's fault why the Cavaliers lost. I mean, he averaged 34 points per game against the Pacers. He's more than up to the challenge, but I mean, guys are edging him out as star players because they are leading their teams to the conference finals. More people are talking about Tyrese Halliburton than they are Donovan Mitchell, and the same goes for Jalen Brunson, who led the Knicks to the conference finals. Stats and all-star appearances can only take you so far. If Donovan Mitchell wants to be viewed as a superstar player, he needs to be a big reason as to why a team makes it all the way to the conference finals, if not the NBA finals. Not to mention, there are still so many people out there who still believe there's a strong possibility that one day Mitchell will wake up one day and demand a trade out of Cleveland because maybe he's frustrated by the fact that they're winning all these regular season games and not making deep postseason runs. I believe what the Cleveland Cavaliers should do is exactly what the Celtics did when they brought in experienced veterans in Drew Holiday, who had won before, and Porzingis, who at that point had been around for a while. Look at Cleveland's roster. It's a young team. They are unproven. They have not been there. Darius Garland has had his postseason struggles. Evan Mobley has had his. Bring in a guy who has been there before. And I think the free agent they should be uber interested in is big man Brook Lopez, who is going to be a free agent this offseason. He's won a lot of postseason games. He's won a title with the Bucks. He's still a very good shooter from the 3-point range. This is the kind of player the Cavs should be in on. He's no longer a starting player, but he can play a pivotal role on a very good basketball team that's looking to take that next step. I don't think the Cavaliers are going to land a superstar anytime soon unless they're going to trade away Mobley and Garland. You need to look at other ways to upgrade your roster, and I think the way that the Cavaliers should be looking is looking for veteran experienced players like Brook Lopez. Getting back to the Boston Celtics, life is going to be hard without star Jason Tatum. He won't be there, and there's all this talk about them possibly looking for them to save money, and we can talk all we want about them trying to move on from Kristaps Porzingis, but I have to wonder what team is going to want him. He was virtually unplayable by the end of the postseason. Nobody right now is going to look at him and go, we are a Porzingis away from winning an NBA title. I also sadly feel the same way about Drew Holiday. He's still a good player, but he's nowhere near the player he was last season. Those are not the guys that other teams are going to want at this moment. They're going to want the Derek Whites or the Jaylen Browns or the Peyton Pritchards, and those are the guys you don't want to give up. You want to keep so that when Jason Tatum comes back, you can start winning again. I don't think the loss of Tatum makes the Boston Celtics a 35-win basketball team. I think they could still win 45 to 50 games and be a competitive team, possibly even make it all the way to the conference finals. But I do believe next season is going to feel a bit of a lost season for the Celtics because we were viewing this team as a potential dynasty, and that's what's so crazy about the NBA and sports in general. Your opinions on teams can change drastically due to what occurs during the playoffs. We are now really low on the Boston Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers because they just lost in the postseason in rounds where they probably should have beaten their opponents. I mean, we still all believe the Celtics should have beaten the New York Knicks and the Cavs should have been able to beat the Pacers. So in a really weird way, these teams have chances to start anew because expectations are not going to be super high for either team coming into next season. Nobody is viewing the Celtics as a team that could win the title without Jason Tatum, and no one thinks that the Cavaliers can play their best basketball come the playoffs. I think for a lot of people, these teams are going to be uninteresting come next season. And I can understand that, especially when you're talking about the Boston Celtics. I mean, they lost a top 5 player in the league. You're not going to want to watch a lot of Celtics games that don't have Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown is a really good player. He can put up some numbers. I don't know how far a Jaylen Brown-led team can go. But what could possibly make these two teams interesting follows is them trying to get over these postseason losses and back to a place where they're viewed as two of the best teams in the NBA. Like they have a chance to be a surprise, which is not something you would have ever thought about when it comes to the Boston Celtics. Over the last few years, they've been shoo-ins to make it to the conference finals. They've had Tatum and Brown. You knew they were going to play in big games. I mean, I don't know how either team is going to look come next season, and I am a fan of the Boston Celtics, so maybe you shouldn't take this opinion all that seriously, but there is a part of me that still believes more in the Boston Celtics than I do the Cleveland Cavaliers, because the Celtics have done it before. They have players who have experienced in the big games. Jaylen Brown has been to the NBA Finals twice. So has Derek White. Al Horford, if he's still on the roster. And I also have faith that Brad Stevens, president of the team, is going to make some interesting off-season moves. There's more unpredictability when it comes to the Boston Celtics. I could see it going either way. I could see them really taking a step back without Jason Tatum and being a good, not great basketball team, or I could see them remaining one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. The Cavaliers are what the Cavaliers are at this point. They are a very good basketball team that I expect to win 55 to 60 games next season, but then not go very far come playoff time. It's a bad place to be as an NBA team where the ceiling is viewed as the second round. Playoff legends are made during the conference finals and the NBA finals. Yes, it's important to make the playoffs, and it's important for Cleveland to make it every year, but at some point you gotta get over that hump. It's also an organization you would like to see have playoff success without LeBron James. Looking at the landscape of the Eastern Conference come next season, I don't think there will be a prohibitive favorite because the Celtics will be without Jason Tatum. I still really like the Indiana Pacers, but it's hard to view them as a team that's going to end up being the number 1 seed the entire regular season. The Milwaukee Bucks are in this weird place where they might be moving on from Giannis. If I were a superstar looking to get on a new team, I would be looking at the Eastern Conference. Like if I were Kevin Durant, I would want out of Phoenix and on to an Eastern Conference team because the East is wide open. Yes, you have the Knicks, you have the Pacers, you have these good basketball teams. You could see the Orlando Magic taking a huge step forward alongside the Detroit Pistons. But presumably without the Celtics, there's no top dog. There's no team you look at and go, this team's going to win 60 games and automatically contend to make the Eastern Conference Finals. You don't know that the Knicks and Pacers are going to make the conference finals again next season. It could be two completely different teams. And it's just not like that in the Western Conference. You know the good teams. You know that OKC is going to be there again next season. You know the Denver Nuggets are going to be a very good team. You know the Clippers are going to have a really good regular season. The East, there are these teams that you could see going either way. Like I could see the Miami Heat taking a huge step forward next season, especially if they get a star free agent this offseason. And how wide open the East is one of the reasons I'm not entirely counting out the Celtics or the Cavaliers come next year, because these teams still have a lot of talent on their roster, and I think they're still better than a lot of teams in the Eastern Conference. Even though though I am a fan of the Boston Celtics, I can admit it's a good thing for surprising things to happen come playoff times. It's a good thing that there's not going to be a prohibitive favorite next year in the East. There are two players on these two teams who have a lot to prove next season, and number one is Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics. There have been so many people pondering over the last decade or so if Jaylen Brown can be the best player on a winning team, and we are going to find out if that can be the case, because he is going to be the guy for the Boston Celtics. He's going to have help. He's going to have Derek White. I mean, I think some people are taking it way too far and saying that he's going to be an MVP candidate. I don't think that, but I do believe that Jaylen Brown can be the big piece of a team that wins 50 to 55 games. The other player is a guy I've already talked about, Donovan Mitchell. I mean, this guy has to make it to the conference finals if he wants to be viewed as a superstar. Tyrese Halliburton has been to the conference finals twice. Jalen Brunson has now made it to the conference finals before Donovan Mitchell. He's known as a playoff performer. He's had huge scoring nights in the postseason. But I believe the moment a star becomes a superstar is when he leads his team to the conference finals. It happened a few years ago with Dame Lillard when he brought the Trailblazers all the way to the conference finals versus the Warriors. That's the moment he became a superstar. For Donovan Mitchell to be a superstar, he needs to lead the Cavaliers to a conference finals appearance. Brown, on the other hand, has been there before. He's been in the conference finals numerous times with the Celtics. He's been finals MVP, conference finals MVP, but he's never had to carry the team without Jason Tatum. That is the big question mark for the star player of the Boston Celtics. Can he be the guy? So yeah, I'm going to keep a close eye on both of these teams come next regular season, but we all know that we won't know if there's any major difference until the postseason comes. Then we will see if these two teams can be redeemed, because it's going to be a huge storyline if Jaylen Brown can lead the Celtics to the conference finals without Jason Tatum. If Donovan Mitchell can get over this playoff loss and lead the Cavaliers to a conference finals appearance, that would be a huge storyline. We know that these guys can have success in the regular season, but people are down on both of these teams because of what they went through in the postseason. And as fast as our opinions changed on them because of their failures, they can equally change because of success. Sometimes there's this misnomer when it comes to the NBA that everything that happens isn't unexpected. And I do think there are real surprises in this league. Again, these two teams each won 60 plus ball games, and neither of them made it to the conference finals. Nobody predicted the Knicks and Pacers as the two teams in the Eastern Conference Finals, but here we are. And now these teams have to react to these failures, and it's going to be fascinating to see what moves the Cavaliers and Celtics make this offseason. Will they have strong reactions to these playoff losses? I mean, I know what I want. I want both of them to make a surprise move. I talked about Brook Lopez, but I would love to see the Cavaliers make more of a splash. Like, they should be in on Julius Randle. That's a guy to me that makes a lot of sense for the Cavaliers. Get a big who can shoot the three, and that would take a lot of pressure off of Mobley. Like, just get another big who you can lean on offensively. I like Jared Allen. He is a very good defensive player, but his offensive game leaves a lot to be desired. For instance, in his final two games against the Pacers, Allen scored 11 total points in 50 minutes. That's not gonna get the job done. And my final word on the Celtics is I think you're just hoping for huge bounce back seasons from Porzingis and Holiday. Like, if those two guys can return to form, you can go back to being a special basketball team. And I know that's asking a lot. I mean, these are aging players. This is Porzingis, a guy who's dealing dealing with a mysterious illness. But right now, it's in the best interest of the Boston Celtics for Porzingis to be the second best player on the roster behind Jaylen Brown. All year long, we awaited an Eastern Conference Finals matchup between the Celtics and the Cavaliers, and not only did we not get that matchup, but neither team made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And like I've been saying, absolutely no one is high on the future of either of these basketball teams, and it's so interesting because just a month ago, both of these teams had championship aspirations. Losses like the ones the Celtics and Cavaliers suffered in the second round can motivate a team. We will see if that's the case for the Celtics and Cavaliers come next season. Thanks for listening to this edition of Head to Head. I'm Cam McKinney, and there'll be a new episode of the podcast every Monday on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So please rate, review, and subscribe.